Welcome to part 3 of lesson 5.1.2, marginal, joint, and conditional probabilities. So in this one, we're going to start investigating conditional probabilities. What you might have noticed in the first two videos was that when we were setting up our proportions, the denominator was always that 229.1 million people. Because every single time we were creating a probability or a proportion, we were always talking about going to just the US adults. So conditional probability is going to be a little bit different. They're actually going to start to narrow down the population that they want you to go to. And the notation that they use when they give you the probability description is going to also look a little bit different. So for this video, we're going to explore question number 9 on page 3 of your lesson book. So again, we're still working with the same census data, dealing with our U.S. adults broken down by their sex and by their marital status. So we're going to actually do a slow build here. And I'm going to go ahead and just read through this. So please make sure that you do have your packet with you. If you don't, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and grab it. So for number 9, we're going to find out the probability that a randomly chosen female is widowed. We are starting with the fact that the adult chosen is female. So to kind of jump ahead a little bit from your book, essentially what we want to note here is if we were writing that in probability notation, we would basically be saying, let's find the probability that someone is widowed given, so I'm going to use this straight vertical line, and this vertical line means given that someone is female. So again, if you are looking at a probability notation like so say this is a question on a quiz or a test question, or it's something in your homework, this is basically saying find the probability that someone is widowed given that they are female. So your book continues to break everything down, but just so that you're aware of what that notation can look like. So for part A of your question, they ask us, okay, well, how many females are in the population? So basically, how many total females do we have in this situation? And we would note that there are 118 million of these females that came from the census data. So again, we'll go ahead and we'll note that. We'll say 118, and then I'll go ahead and write the unit million. Okay, so moving to part B, that question is how many of the females are widowed? So again, we only care at this point about the female column. So I don't need any of this other info here. So I don't need the total anymore, and I certainly don't need to look at the male information. I'm being told just focus on the female info. So for part B, within those females, I want to know how many of them are widowed. So in this case, I know that 114 of them, or sorry, 11.4 of them are widowed. Okay, and I just realized that my black line between my widowed and total vanished. Okay, so from here, for part C, they're saying what's the proportion of the female adult population of the U.S. Sorry, let me read that one more time. What proportion of the female adult population of the U.S. is widowed? So let me actually go ahead and call that question forward so that I can kind of highlight and map it out with you. So let me go ahead and get that written. Okay, so again, it reads, what proportion of the female adult population of the U.S. is widowed? So again, this is where things are going to start to line up with the interval, or sorry, not the interval, the probability notation that I have written above. So first off, what proportion of the female adult population? So again, this is telling us what group that we should be going to. So we are interested in just talking to the female population. So there's our 118 million people. And then once we have kind of pulled together all 118 females from this group, we're going to ask them that question, are you widowed? So in this case, that's your secondary piece of information that we want to ask. And we know that 11.4, sorry, that's a little sloppy, million of them are widowed. So again, if you kind of take a look at the probability notation that I have above, it actually looks like the fraction that we have below. Notice that we have widowed first, followed by female second. So if you kind of look at the conditional probability setup carefully, it actually kind of tells you how to construct your proportion in order to get that probability. So in this case then, when we go ahead and calculate this, we end up getting 0.097. So in other words, 9.7% of the people in this data are female, or sorry, let me repeat that. So 9.7% of the females in this data are widowed. Because again, I don't want to just say adults because then that would pull in the men as well. And we are only interested in the females in this particular situation. So for part D, we just want to determine the probability that a randomly chosen female is widowed. This is actually just a rephrasing of question C. So you actually would arrive at the same solution as 0.097. So please note that questions C and D are actually asking you the exact same question, and this is why you would get the same answer. So for the rest of the lesson, what I would like you to do is please complete question 10. And then afterwards, they do give you some questions to work on for 11 and 12. Please go ahead and try those on your own. That's where they're going to start to kind of mix in to make sure that you are able to comfortably differentiate between a marginal probability, a conditional probability, and a joint probability. What I want you to note is at this stage in the game, I'm not necessarily expecting you to be able to identify the probabilities as marginal, conditional, and joint. What I am expecting you to do is essentially reading comprehension. I want you to be able to read those questions and decide where are you going to go in order to get the information to help you answer your questions. I hope that this video was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything that I can clarify for you. Thank you very much.